Hi guys, welcome to That Going In Life. I'm Amy and I want to give you guys some tips, 5 tips to be exact, for surviving living out of state or living away from your family. So let's do this. Okay, so once again, little background about myself. I grew up and was raised in Southern California, and I met my husband while on vacation, and he is from Washington State. And so when we were engaged, married, I moved up to Washington State for probably around 2 years. So our first 2 years of marriage basically. And then because of some complicated circumstances, we moved back, and now we're here in California. So both my husband and I have had experiences as adults living far away from our family. I've also had different experience, like I had an internship on the East Coast and then I studied abroad in England. But I do have to say, while I did get homesick for sure during those times, it's much different feeling when you have a known end date than when you don't have any known end date, when it's like, when you think, this is just my life, I'm just going to live far away from my family as usual. And I do have to say, these are my tips for how to make it easier, but it's not easy, and I don't think anything I can say or do will make it easy. It will always be hard to live away from loved ones, but there are ways to make it a little better for this one. And if you are going through a hard time about living far away from your family and just feeling alone, I'm really sorry. I know that that can be hard, and while you may feel alone, you aren't feeling alone by yourself. Does that make sense? And if you're having a hard time about feeling like you're missing out on some things, you're not the only one who feels that way. And I hope that just gives you a bit of comfort. That's my goal in that one. So let's get into my tips for what I did to help with this whole homesick living away from your family thing. So the first thing is I would say, try to make a tradition or try to make a habit that you stick to for connecting with your loved ones. So for me, I am very, very, very close to my parents, and so I had a tradition of when I would call them. I had like a hands-free way of calling them when I am driving, and so what I would do is every day after work at the same time I would call, and I would just get updates. And so having that consistency of knowing when I was going to call and knowing to expect it, that was really helpful. And so it really, especially because I talk to them every day, that's just my relationship with my parents. I just talk to them every day, and I always have and probably always will. That's just our relationship. But if that's not your relationship with your family, that's totally fine. I just really recommend making some sort of tradition or habit out of it, like every day, once a week, every other week, once a month, whatever works for you. But really try to make it a habit and make it a priority, and make it something that both you and your family member can expect, so it's something that you guys can look forward to, if that works. Okay, so the second thing that I would recommend, especially during these holiday seasons, is to carry on traditions from your old family. Like, so for example, so this is a really weird tradition that my family has, but for Thanksgiving, the Monday before Thanksgiving, we will sit and snap the beans. You know, so for green beans, you have to like snap off the ends and stuff like that. And so that's our tradition. Please don't ask me to explain it because I don't know, you know, but that's a tradition. And so when we were up in Washington, I wanted to do that. And it really helps. Like, it really helps to feel like you're not it helps with that sense of loss, because it's like, yes, you're not doing it necessarily with your family, but you are still carrying on the tradition, and so it still is important to you. And my third piece of advice is start new traditions, you know, like do something that you can be excited about, especially if you're in a similar situation where I wasn't married. Like, I was a newlywed and I was living with, like, far away from my family. That was a lot of change all at once, a lot of change. And so one thing that really helped was kind of redefining myself and saying, like, hey, I'm married, like, my husband and I, this is my family, you know, like, yes, I have extended family, my parents, my brother, everybody, you know, and they are important, they will always be important, but now that I'm married, like, my husband and I, like, this family, that is what is a priority. And like, take the chance to be like the magic maker. So I always feel like my parents were the magic makers, you know, like they would, on different holidays and special days, they would make the magic for my brother and I, you know, like they would do the special things and stuff like that. But now you can be the magic maker, even if it's just for yourself. You could start a tradition. Like, one thing I did for myself while we were still engaged was, even though we were trying to save money for the wedding and stuff like that, is once a week on Friday during my work lunch break, I would take myself to Chipotle, and it felt special, and it was a tradition, and it was something I could look forward to, and I was like, making my week better. So if you could start new traditions that you could look forward to, that will make you feel connected to the place that you are currently at, I would recommend it. Okay, the fourth thing that I would recommend is do not try to bury your feelings. Do not try to act like everything is okay, that it doesn't hurt to be away from your family, that it's, don't bury it inside. That is something that I did, and what would happen is I would get upset about other things because I couldn't admit that I wanted to be in California, that I wanted to be with my family. And so I would get upset about other things, and it wouldn't really make sense because that wasn't how I was truly feeling. But because I was bottling up my feelings about it just being hard to be living in a different state, I would take it out in other ways because it had to come out somewhere. So it's okay to be sad because it is sad, like, and it's okay that it's hard because it is hard. But in those feelings of it feeling sad and it feeling hard, also remember, like, there is a reason for it. I don't know what reason you have, but there is a reason for that. And I personally believe that because of that I'm a Christian and I believe in Jesus, that God had a plan for everything, and he had a good plan for me. And so just try to, when you are feeling sad, don't try to hold it back, but also try to remember that there is a reason that you're there, and there's a reason that you chose to be there. Okay, another thing, tip number 5, is set up appropriate boundaries and expectations, particularly for the loved ones that you are missing over there, and for any loved ones, friends or family that are currently with you. So I told my husband, basically, like, I told him how often I needed to go home, and it was a lot. So we had the expectations of basically, at the very minimum, every 2 to 3 months we would go and see my family, or they would come up and see my family. Once again, we're really close. I know that seems excessive, but the flight to California and Washington is not that far. But yes, it was excessive. But it's what I needed at the time, and it just is. And so we had the expectation of, this is something I knew that I needed to kind of get through it at the time. And so we would be saving money in order for that to happen. He was Eric was the best at helping me, and he was completely supportive about that. But also be prepared to set boundaries for your loved ones that are at home. Specifically because they might not fully understand your choices, and it's hard on them too. Like, it's not just hard on you, it's hard on them. And one thing that was different is you had the choice, or I'm guessing you made the choice to move out of state, and they can't hold you back, you know, like they can't say no, you can't do that. And so they didn't necessarily have a choice, and that can be hard for them as well. But you have to protect your heart, specifically around possible like guilt trips or feeling like them trying to make you feel bad or worse or something. I'm not trying to say that they will or that they do that, but make sure that you set up boundaries on what is appropriate and inappropriate, because you might be in a more fragile emotional state and you might be more susceptible to those things. And in that, try to be as honest and as clear as you can, but also empathetic, and remembering that it's probably just as hard for them as it is for you. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard that how many times can I say hard in this video? Anyways, once again, I'm sorry if you are going through this, or if you have any other tips that you think may help others, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear it. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, I had to sneeze.